Judge not, lest ye be judged, has come to mind. Well, America has no moral authority to judge anyone. They've got, in my lifetime, and just before, the 2 wars in Iraq, for heaven's sake. Vietnam, crimes against humanity. What do you think napalm was? Guantanamo Bay? That was the imprisonment camp where they tortured these so-called Middle Eastern terrorists, I think. Biden, Mr. Joe Biden, castigating Russia, holding short apparently of calling it genocide. Zelensky's calling everything genocide now. Well, it devalues the whole concept. I thought genocide was when you try and wipe out the whole nation. As far as I can work out, Russia's trying to bring back her own in some way. Kyiv is the spiritual center of Russia, not Moscow. Of Russia, not Ukraine. I don't know where Ukraine came from. Yes, everything's blooming awful. Of course it is. All you hear on the jolly old BBC, which is mostly where I get my news from, is an endless repeat of body counts and atrocities. We killed, the West, countless tens of thousands of human beings, innocent civilians in Iraq for oil. Syria's still going on. They're starving in Afghanistan. Apparently Sri Lanka's struggling just to feed its population. Well, they had this internal conflict for 25 years with the Tamil Tigers and all of that. You're always running into very well-educated, very good English-speaking Sri Lankans in England. The West is and its handcart heading towards hell. I think that's called alliteration. I was just looking up the prophets, the Old Testament prophets. So we start with Elijah, and then Elisha, and so on. Poor old Elijah had had enough. And God's chosen people, the Israelites, the Jews, the Hebrews, behaving badly. God sending his prophets. Then there were 400 years. I've just looked this up, so it might be reasonably accurate. Before Christ came, but God was moving, but he didn't have prophets speaking for him until Christ came. And now we've had, 2,000 years, and the world's in a mess. Well, I can see it. Can't fix it. No way. The best I can offer is to try and make some sense of it. And the only way to make sense of this world is through loving God through Christ. Amen. There is nothing else, ultimately, that will make sense of what is happening in the world now. All of which God has fully, under his complete, total, utter everything is God. Everything. And it is difficult for us humans to see how suffering plays its part in God's plan. I agree. His chosen people, the Israelites, the Jews, the Hebrews, have suffered the longest just for being Jewish. Is that racism? Or religious persecution, or both? You're born a Jew and you're in trouble in historical terms. Brilliant. Not brilliant. God has his purpose for everything. It's unimaginable. In my own personal life, just the tiniest little things happen sometimes. And the timing and the concatenation of events and I can just see God at work. Well, how in heaven's name did he have the time and the energy, quite frankly, to sort of help my little life? But I know it's happened. I've seen it in my own personal life. Yes, I cry. I physically held a baby in my arms in Africa, from South Africa, just on the edge of dying. It didn't actually die in my arms. Luke, we christened this little one. Had the body the size of a 6-month-old, and we found its birth papers, and it was 2 years old and been hidden away. AIDS baby. The best answer to that I've ever had was from a Roman Catholic nun sister, and their little souls go straight to heaven. But why send them into earth to suffer in the first instance, for heaven's sake? So I am aware of the world around me and human suffering, and I'm discussing this violence question with David S.P.L. Iso. He couldn't just be David, could he? He would say, which David? Do you mean David of the Bible, for instance, or as in David and Goliath and so on? Good name, though. Well, I haven't got all the answers. Just listen to God, listen to Christ. I read in those passages yesterday from Isaiah. Fear God. Have the fear of God within you, for heaven's sake. Don't think you and single human being are the big cheese. Not before God, you're not. Anyway, I'm trying to appreciate the beautiful bread I've made. You really could build a house with it. It's got a crust like you need a sledgehammer. It actually calms down a day later. I've had a slice now, and the sogginess has sort of expanded into the whole loaf now, and the crusts that were sort of burnt are softening up a bit. So I'm learning. But I haven't made bread for a year, and then before that I hadn't made bread for 30 years. In a funny old way, it's a huge event in my life, bread. I've tried to share some with my neighbours. Love is the answer. If you have the love of God through Christ within you, you wouldn't have arms in your house. The other person, if they had the love of God through Christ within them, they wouldn't be coming over to kill your family either. How about that as a solution? So foster love within mankind from birth. Build on that for the next generation, that they're swathed in a mantle of love and could never think of becoming the way our current world is, with its politicians who've all basically, seemingly, as far as I'm concerned, totally lost the plot. Throw more arms in, yay! That's the answer. Bigger bombs, more smart weapons. Kill the other fellow before he kills you. Well, if that's your mindset, I'm afraid you're pretty jolly well lost, quite frankly. I mean, our men really rant, rabbit. Love God through Christ. I know if I go this side, the light will change. There are two commandments. Love God, love your neighbour. Love God, love your neighbour as yourself. Amen. That's it. Encompassed within the two commandments, the law and the prophets. Christ says this. He came not to abolish the law, that's the Torah, that's the first 5 books of the Bible, the Old Testament, but to fulfill them. 2 commandments. Love God, love your neighbour as yourself. Amen.